Authenticity is like at its all-time rarest. People don't like what they see in the mirror, so they present what they think other people want to see.
Welcome to Mindset Lessons from the Field. I'm Gina Casazza, the author of Training with a SEAL. Go check it out right now on Substack. Couple of chapters are up and ready to go. Today's guest is a seasoned leader. So excited. Special Forces NCO, entrepreneur, mentor of future leaders. He spent nearly 2 decades as a Green Beret, mastering operations under pressure while guiding the next generation of soldiers. And now he brings the same grit into business, working with Fortune 500 companies, building national brands, and developing leaders. He serves as the Director of Brand Development at a Century Enterprise Group and a senior instructor with the Army National Guard. Ladies and gentlemen, really excited to introduce you to Doug Kiesewetter. Did I say your last name correctly?
Good enough for me. And honestly, that's like the most glowing reception I think I've ever gotten. So I feel pretty welcome. Thank you very much for having me.
Oh my gosh, I'm really excited to talk to you. I mean, what a career, and also today, like working with 500 company brand development. I mean, this is my jam. I'm like,
I love development and I love business development as a whole. Marketing is like black magic. You never know what works one way or another, but everybody has an opinion about it. So it's basically a razor fight all the time about what we're going to do and then why the thing that we did didn't work the way we wanted it to work. So it can be pretty frustrating at times.
Okay, you just said something that normally I don't go right here right away, but as a Green Beret and the career that you had and stuff like that, and then you just said it doesn't work the way that you may have anticipated, right? And you're trying different things. And I know with the military, you guys always have a PACE plan in place and stuff. Do you do that within brand and working with companies and building businesses? What have you learned from your time in Special Forces that has translated you to excel at the position that you are today?
First of all, I don't think anyone ever knows that they're excelling while they're in a position. So that's the case. I think that patience, it's ironic because I think a lot of people think that time and soft translates over into being able to function in a business environment. And I think it actually is the opposite. I think that we are used to working with fairly unconstrained budgets. Like money is not really the issue. And if it is an issue, we find a way to work around it using other people's resources, like working kind of like trade type deals to get the training we want or, the operation we want. And in business, budgets are constrained. There's only so much money. And throughout the year, depending on your performance, the budgets get smaller. They don't get bigger. It's not like we stumble on a windfall at the end of the year and spend a ton of money. Like we are spending the money thoughtfully across the year. So having a PACE plan for things like marketing, I think a lot of the time it's a go to hell plan. Like you're just like, okay, this isn't working. We're stopping it. And we're going to pivot to do something different. But
at what point do you know, hey, this isn't working? Because I will say the one thing that I seem to be struggling with is people are always like, you can't see the top of the mountain, but you just got to keep on going and then it'll eventually happen. And it's like at some point, though, it's like, at what point do you pivot? Because and then you wonder, if I just would have kept going, would I have hit that goal? Or,
it's
that's
hard
the
to
part I'm
say.
struggling with.
There's such a lag on things, right? And I mean, we think of things as the top of the mountain, but from a business standpoint, it's the bottom of the funnel. Like I'm pumping people in the top of the funnel and educating them that the brand exists. And then I'm trying to educate them about what the brand is doing and why it's good for them. And then I convert a customer at the bottom. And so how do we get there? If I stop spending money exposing people to the brand, does the funnel dry up in the middle at some point? Do I have do sales suffer? I worked in the oil field for a bunch of years and there's a classic, there's a split between engineers and geologists because a geologist wants to put holes all up and down the drill pipe and try to get the most oil they can out of an oil well. And the engineers the structure of the pipe can only take so many holes, but they're both blaming each other all the time for the lack of production in the oil well. And sales and marketing, I think, are in that similar relationship where sales says we can't sell because marketing is struggling. And marketing is like, hey, sales isn't doing their job. So we try to be cognizant of that conversationally and not fall into that pitfall and just be like, hey, how can we support the sales team? What do you want to see in terms of like direct to consumer, distributor awareness, things like that? What are promotions that you think will work? So like we're trying to stay flexible. I know agile is not the word. The company I work at is large enough that agility is not a strength, but being conscious of what's going on, and who knows when things don't work. There'll be a dry spell on conversions. You're like, okay, well, we're not really selling anything. Maybe the marketing's not working. And then the next month it's like the dam broke. And you're like, well, what we were doing working? And we're seeing it now. It's hard to say. So you have to be kind of judicious about what you're spending resources on and how you're doing it, because there's only so many dollars in the bank account and only so many hours in a day. But not quitting is important, right? Like just because it's not working doesn't mean we don't try something different. You will get to the top of the mountain eventually, maybe.
Maybe. It's nothing's guaranteed, right?
Yep.
It's like you don't know. So also I'm gonna work backwards. I don't do this on the show, but I'm gonna do it. So then when you decided to leave your career in the military and transition out, did you know that this was the area you were going to go? How was your transition period to get here?
So I've had a very interesting career as a whole. I actually started in the National Guard. I made the first 10 years of my career active duty time. I chased deployments, schools, different opportunities. I was instructor at the schoolhouse for 3 years. I made Special Forces my career during that decade, but it's still cobbling orders together. You're still kind of like trying to find work a year at a time or 6 to 8 months at a time, and you're trying to block them out so there's the smallest window between those orders as possible. So that kind of builds a hustle in you anyway. And then when I started trying to put more focus on my family, it was like the logical pivot was to go into contracting, because the skill set fit overseas contracting for like security and stability work. Then I realized I was doing the exact same thing. I was just gone from my family all the time. So I caddied at a golf course for a while. I did what I needed to do to put food on the table. Fitness was always a big thing to me. So like I was running a gym. One of my buddies started a fitness company and offered me to be a partner in it. And I took him up on it, and it became a fairly large thing. It was called Softleet, and it's still running. I sold my equity, I guess, almost 3 years ago now. It was a good exit from what grew from being a fitness programming company into some kind of fitness tech type play. We built our own app. It was very educational. I call that period of time a very expensive MBA because we got a lot out of it. But while I was doing that, at the beginning in startup, you don't make any money. So we were basically,
don't I know it?
scraping by. So it was like, okay, what else can I do? So like, I was a go-ruck cadre. I caddied when I could. I took random short-term contracts. I did a million things to try to keep the groceries paid for and the mortgage paid. To show you how low I stooped at that point, I actually re-enrolled in college for a kinesiology degree, even though I've already gotten a bachelor's and a master's. It was like, I'm going to get an associate's just so I can draw BAH on the GI Bill while I'm trying to figure out what's going on. So like I was very much doing everything. And as things started to take shape, we built a very successful brand with Softleet, community and a brand. And so when I left there, we were in due diligence to sell the whole company for about a year. It didn't happen. Like most exits don't happen. Yeah. I mean, literally right at the very end, it was like, hey, this isn't going to happen. You're like, what are we doing? We haven't been paying ourselves for a year. Like we were trying to get the cap sheet balanced out right. So it was like, okay, what are we doing? And I sold my equity because I just felt like it was the right time and the right play. And I made a post about wanting to, I'd been looking for a job for 9 months anyway. I'd been interviewing and talking to other people and other companies. The corporate world's not a great fit. I'd made this analogy before when I was looking for a job. When we were kids, we always wanted that giant Swiss Army knife that had like every single tool on it. It was like in every catalog. I was like, oh, that thing is cool, super expensive. None of the tools do anything that well, but you have like a million tools available. And that is a Green Beret. Like you have a giant multi-tool that doesn't really do anything that well. He does a lot of things, but he doesn't have a niche. And over the course of interviewing for a lot of jobs, I kind of came to the realization that the real strength that I had built over the last decade was marketing, whether I liked it or not. I made a post about my exit from Softly, and within a day, I mean, I'd been interviewing actively for 9 months with no real leads. And within a day, I probably got 3 offers for people that were like, oh, you're not there anymore. Come over here and do marketing for us. And at the time, I was just starting to touch the idea that marketing was what we had been doing well at Softly. And that's why the brand took off. I mean, our core product is very valuable, but convincing people to spend money on a training app is a difficult proposition. And we did well at it. Trying to figure out how to do that with other products, things that you may not be as passionate about or knowledgeable about, it's been an interesting experience. I got very lucky. I'm in the outdoor space now. Century Enterprise Group is like kind of their business model has mutated several times over like the last 5 years. Currently, we're moving into some new stuff, but one of our key elements is that we own a night vision and thermal plant that manufactures kind of like pro consumer grade night vision goggles, night vision monocles, monoculars, not monocles, not the Mr. Peanut.
Yeah.
And then thermal imaging scopes. We're in Tempe, Arizona, and it's actually something I am passionate about. So it's fun to get to play with night vision, thermals, integrate a lot of the shooting that I do into my daily work. We also rep some other brands. We own like a line of daytime optics with Winchester. We just started doing thermals with that brand as well. We've had some gentlemen's upland clothing brands that we've repped as in-house brands, and some AR-15 furniture, like some weapon furniture, like kind of socks, grips, things like that, accessories. I know the space-ish. It's just interesting to go from marketing to people who view fitness I was selling a product to people who viewed my product as a seminal piece of their professional success, to selling things that are typically recreational items, where it's like, this is a splurge. It is going to enhance your life, but the recreational side of your life, not the professional side of your life. And that's been interesting, honestly. Selling image that's not related to your core professional demands has been a pivot, but it's been educational. I enjoy it.
How do you navigate the shift and bring your skill sets into business, meaning from the veteran, I guess in the veteran community, right? Sometimes they struggle to transition into that civilian world, right?
I never transitioned because I'd been transitioned.
Because you're still with it, right? Yeah, you're still.
Years, it's been 1 foot in, 1 foot out in one way or another. And I try to encourage guys, like, if you're transitioning and you feel like you have a loss of identity, do something that matters. The whole reason we got in to begin with was to do something that we thought mattered. So like, find a nonprofit that is making an impact in a place where you feel like you can help. I'm doing a lot of volunteer work right now with a nonprofit that does intervention in like during crisis incidents like that are related to suicide in one capacity or other. And it's very draining. Success is keeping somebody alive, but the road to recovery isn't just in not killing yourself one day. It's like, hey, what led you here? What's the best way to address this moving forward? Like, what are the roots of the problem? And like staying plugged in, getting people into longer term treatment, convincing them that, talk therapy is worth their time. Getting guys to stop drinking, sleeping adequately. I'm familiar with those things, but the payout of it is really great. And the sense of importance of what you're doing is high. So like when guys are like, well, I feel lost, and you're like, cool, man, volunteer with Team Rubicon, or find an organization that's doing something that you think is important, and just volunteer some time and some of your resources, and it'll make you feel a sense of belonging and accomplishment again. Corporate job is a grind. I don't think anybody likes it. Like sitting on Zoom meetings all the time, working on spreadsheets, cranking out products that are irrelevant within 30 days is tough, especially when you're not making the money for yourself. Like, as an entrepreneur, it's one thing because you're looking at the bank account and you're like, okay, I'm broke. I need to fix this. Okay, I know what every hour goes to. But when you're doing it for somebody else, it can be demoralizing. I mean, it's not for me, but I sometimes see it where I'm like, oh, the hamster wheel spins again. Here we go. Like, we're just on it. So like, I understand why that transition is hard for guys, but I think a lot of the time guys do it to themselves. Guys, non-gender specific, service members as a whole, like they've been handed a sense of purpose for their entire military career. Like they had to show up at a certain time. They were very directed on when to be at a place and what to do. There was a mission that was clearly dictated. Even if we were shaping it, it was given to us by higher command. And when you get out on your own, you don't really have anybody telling you that. It's like, hey, I pay you to be in a director role. That means I expect you to make decisions and, make the best decision for the company. How am I supposed to know?
Yeah. What does that mean? Yeah.
Not nesting. No one's actually said, this is what our company's goal is. They're like, okay, this is the amount of money we want to make this year. Go. And you're like,
yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
I got you. We'll see what we can do, and quarterly updates don't always substantiate that you're doing the work you're supposed to be doing, but you're grinding, and so it's like sometimes,
like you said, you don't know what's working, right? And you're hoping that it's getting to whatever that goal that's so broad really is, right? Which is usually just like make money or get more sales or be more productive. I mean, it's so broad in terms of, and I just know for myself in the entrepreneurial life, I'm always like, I want somebody to just tell me the steps that I need to take to get to this and this one checkpoint. And the problem though is that like there isn't. And the thing is, and it's the same thing with working with somebody. Sometimes it's just I have to make a bunch of calls in order to hit this number of sales, or I have to do, and that is so frustrating on its own, because also you feel like even though you're part of something, or if you're an entrepreneur and it's your own project, you're still feeling like a lone wolf in a way, even if you
which is
have
good.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. It's hard when you can blame other people, and because a lot of people will. It's like, all right, this is somebody else's fault. To make a correlation, when you were talking, I was thinking to myself, well, it was easy, everybody would do it. Being an entrepreneur was easy, everyone would be a successful entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And because of the way social media is, I think a lot of people who aren't successful entrepreneurs make you feel like they are, in fact, successful entrepreneurs by presenting the feeling of success over social media. Like, so you see a lot of other people succeeding, but you're grinding, you're not succeeding. You're like, okay, I am plugging along and I am doing what I'm passionate about. And I do not think that it is moving as fast as it should move. Why is it working so well for other people? And, one thing that we found at Softly as we started to do more market research was we thought that everybody else in the space was doing better than us. We're like, how do we get what they're doing? Like, how do we get where they are? And over time, almost without exception, we found that they were all universally doing worse than we were. That like they had money or resources or a megaphone to make it look like they were doing better, but that their actual numbers and their revenue were dramatically lower than ours. So like they say comparison is the thief of joy. Obviously, you need to do some sort of market comparison, to know kind of where you sit. But I think that if things are going well and you're actually operating profitably, if you feel like you're making an impact, then you're on the right path. You just need to figure out how much more you want to invest to grow and how much you're comfortable with investing. Like, are you going to go broke on this and start all over again somewhere else? Or are you going to, consistently come at it in a sustainable way? Well, right now we can't invest more in it, so it's going to have to languish for now. And then when I have a little bit more money to put it towards the problem, it's the age-old problem. Like, how much debt should I go into for this thing? It's the beginning. No one makes money. Okay, well, at a certain point, you're going to drown underneath the weight of what you've taken unless you have a good, solid plan. And when you're not making the plan, you need to reassess, or else you're putting yourself in a very bad place. The difference between conventional military and SOF in a lot of ways is really just a selection course. During the selection courses, you're not getting active feedback on your performance. You're doing things that you're told, and you're behaving in a way that you think that people want you to behave to be seen as worthy or, meeting the standard for this organization. but you're not getting feedback. You're not getting real time. You're operating in a vacuum. So like, I think that a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of people in corporate business with poor management structures are in the same vacuum. They know generally what they're supposed to be doing, but they're not getting feedback on whether they're doing it well or poorly. And the differentiation is, are people going to double down and work harder, or are they going to throw their hands up and just stop working, period? And getting selected is keeping your job or being fired. Like it's an age-old conundrum, but it's a pretty clear-cut one, which is like, hey, just because you're not getting feedback doesn't mean you have to stop working.
This podcast episode is brought to you by Thrivers Coffee. Podcast guest Nick McKinley's company, Deliver Fund, brings you guys Thrivers Coffee. It is ethically sourced, it's organic, and it supports traffic survivors. That is right. Thrivers Coffee is all about empowering us to making a difference in the fight to end human trafficking. That's why 100% of the proceeds go directly towards their goal of bringing freedom to victims of human trafficking. So if you guys love coffee that is organic, ethically sourced, and tastes absolutely delicious, and want to help to end the fight of human trafficking, check out Nick McKinley's company, Thrivers Coffee. Now, you talked about selection, and I want to go into that for yourself, being which I guess, what field in terms of Green Beret, what do you specialize in as a Green Beret?
So I was a Green Beret. I am a Green Beret still. I am a weapons sergeant and an engineering sergeant. So I have 2 MOSs in SF. I view myself as an engineer predominantly because that's where I taught for the longest time, and it's what I see as my skill. I reclassed as a weapons guy on a whim just because I thought it'd be fun because I'm an idiot. But it was actually fun. So I had a good time.
So going through selection for you, it was 2 year? Was it 2 years?
It's 20. So when I went through, it was 24 days. It changes in time, like the modalities of selection, command to command. It's been 14 days. I think it's 21 days now again. Typically it's 3 weeks of effort. The 2-week wind block, I don't really know how they conducted the 14-day selection. It was kind of not in a time when I was actually really plugged in, but you have like a week of PT and like psychological assessments, so a lot of basic like runs, rucks, PT tests, and psychological tests, some classes. And then you'll have land nav week where you go out in the field, you learn how to conduct land navigation, and then you're evaluated on a STAR course. And then you'll have team week, which is a bunch of I would say Sisyphean tasks. I don't think that's the right word. Herculean tasks, more appropriately. Like, there's no way to do them right. They're all designed to be an overage of work for the team, no matter how big the team is. And you're supposed to construct some sort of device or mechanism that makes it easier for you to do it, but the mechanism always falls apart. And they're basically testing guys on how well they react under pressure, how they implement a plan, how they stick to the plan or flex away from the plan. Your interaction with the cadre during that time is almost zero. They just stand there with a notebook and take notes on what you're doing and don't tell you what the right way to do it is. So the team will either eat itself and just be mad at each other because things suck, or a team will accept that it's going to suck. And they're going to be like, okay, we know this is going to suck. Let's just get it over with.
How was your team? Was your team a good team? Was your team, and here's the thing, did you see other teams in terms of, because again, you can't, no. like it's not up to you on who's on your team, right? No. And if you have a bad team, it's like that could bring everything down, right? So how was your team, and how did you guys navigate?
My team was not a good team. We were the last in most days during team week, and that's demoralizing. You definitely don't feel like you're doing well enough to be selected, because whether you're getting feedback from cadre or not, self-assessment is always a thing. Like, it's what we were talking about you being like, I don't know if I'm gonna make it to the top of the mountain or not. We all self-assess. Right. We're like, well, I know kind of what I'm doing. Like, I can see myself and it's not good enough. So one of the biggest things that you kind of get drilled in your head is not to self-assess. When you're in these situations, don't be saying, okay, I'm sucking at this. Be like, hey, I have a job I have to do. I need to get this done. So I'm going to focus on the job, not on how I view my own performance of said job.
I like that. That's good too for, any human being, whether you're,
going to destroy you. Okay, I suck at this. I'm going to change all the time. just focus on the work and get the work done. You know, my team lost a lot of guys very early on in team week who just quit. And that is funny because like if you start with 12 guys, the work that you're given at every station doesn't get smaller. So when you're down to like 9 guys, you have dudes on the team that are like, hey, this one dude is terrible and we need to get him to quit because he doesn't belong in SF. Like, we know this isn't a good guy. I'm just routinely telling the guys, I'm like, it doesn't matter. Him getting selected isn't up to us. We're the ones that are being evaluated. But if we chase him off and make him quit, then that's 8 dudes to carry the same amount of stuff. Like, even if that guy can only carry like 10 pounds of stuff, it's still 10 pounds of stuff that I don't have to carry. So like, let's not get anybody to quit. Let's all just like go along. Let's go slower so that he's not feeling pressure. And they're like, if we go slower, then we're going to fail. And I was like, I don't believe that is the case. And I actually got into trouble because during one of the movements, I had an experienced E6 from 4th ID on my team, and I was a 18 X-ray. So I was a kid that was straight off the street. And I made the decision that we were going to put our slowest guys at the front and we were going to pace to them. And this guy from 4th ID was eager to get to the location. He was like, he kept jumping forward to get to the front and then setting a faster pace. And I kept putting him at the back and being like, hey, go to the back. I know it's slow, but go to the back. And the cadre were like, is this how you move in the infantry? Like, he was like making fun of me, giving me a hard time. And I have a big mouth. So I was like, hey, Sergeant, I thought I was in charge. Maybe don't chime in so much. And that dude lost his mind. Now, I probably didn't come about it the best way, but like, he walked around for like the next 5 days telling everybody that my roster number was never going to get picked. He was going to make sure that I didn't get selected, that like I had too much attitude and was full of myself and like I didn't know what I was doing, and made no secret of it. So I heard about it from other guys that I knew. They were like, yo, that guy, that cadre hates you. And I was like, I am not getting selected. And what's funny is I did get selected, and I look back now and I'm like, my answer was the right answer. I was in charge. I was supposed to be setting the pace and making decisions. And if we failed, it was on me. But maybe I should have been a little more diplomatic about dealing with someone who is actually like, who held my career in his hands. You know, I've always been bad at that. I remain bad at that. You know, like, I'm like, hey, I don't think this is what you want to do, to someone I probably shouldn't say that to.
I'm curious in terms of when I was reading about you and your bio and all that, you're fluent in multiple languages.
I wouldn't say fluent. The Army definition of fluency is very, very low. I lived in Morocco for almost a year studying Arabic because I was trying to clep out of language school in the Q course. Despite Special Forces being full of like very intelligent guys, language school is very demoralizing because you're in a classroom full of dudes who would rather be like lifting, shooting, breaking things. And they're all being tasked with going to college level language classes and learning a language in a 3 or 6 month abbreviated period of time fluently. So like with Spanish, it's kind of fun. But like when you get Arabic as your language and they're like, hey, learn a new alphabet, memorize it, and also get fluent enough to get a 1+1+ in the language proficiency test in 6 months. It's hard when a lot of guys don't want to learn. So like half of the class will want to learn, half of the class won't want to learn. Guys are like comfortable with just getting the minimum because they're like, okay, this is something I have to do. So I didn't want to go back to language school. I knew the environment wasn't conducive for me. So I tried to learn it on my own. I did fairly well. The new DLPT, which isn't new anymore, is very hard. Like very hard. I took I believe it was the 4 as soon as I got back from Morocco and got like a 2+3. And I felt good about myself. The next week I took the DLPT 5 because the 4 was no longer like a testable thing. And I got a 1+1+. And I was like, this one's really hard. Typically they read you. So you'll have a lot of like audio tracks. There's a reading portion that you read and answer questions about. You'll read a passage in Arabic and then you answer the questions in English. And then there'll be a listening portion where you listen to somebody like a radio broadcast or a TV ad, and then you answer questions about it, or a conversation between 2 people. Yeah, it's challenging. Maintaining proficiency in language is hard. Best thing that ever happened to me. Probably the most stressful part about being in group was maintaining proficiency in Arabic. But I took Spanish in high school and I took French in high school. Somewhere along the way in the Guard, my control language moved from Arabic to Spanish, and I am able to get a passing score in Spanish every year without studying. My control language has me good, and then I pass about 50% of the time with a good score in French and Arabic every year too. So then I draw a language pay for 3 languages. So it's very nice.
How do you like learn and I guess word I'm looking for is it's on the tip of my tongue. Like allow it to sink in. I'm not
I'm not sure it ever does. I immediately learn colloquial phrases for I am not a good speaker of this language. And I open every conversation with people with that, which sets the tone. And then everyone says, "Oh no, you're very good." And I'm like, "I know I am not." And then I ask a lot of questions, like if you're fluent in guiding questions like how do I say this? What is this? Like then you get a lot further. But I've forgotten more than I'll ever know. So usually, especially with Arabic, dialects are so different from region to region that like I'll go places and I fall back on my predominant instruction, which was it was modern standard Arabic, but taught in Morocco. So a lot of like dialectical words from Morocco are very different. And so I'll be in Iraq and the guys are like, "Are you from Morocco?" I'm like, "Do I look like I'm from Morocco?" It's like, not from Morocco. But you have to learn, certain words in one country mean something completely different, like almost the opposite in other
right.
places. So you
Right.
have to just feel it out.
How do you like if a teen was listening to this show, right? Or someone that's in college, because we do get a lot of college listeners on the show, or someone that's just in business that's switching and they're learning something, right? They're studying some. How does one get through or learn the material of something that is like you mentioned in the meeting? This can be very demoralizing for somebody. How do you like download essentially what you need to learn in order to succeed, especially if it's in something that you're just like not interested
Not
in.
motivated by, it's hard.
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
ADHD like crazy. I've never been good at learning things that I'm not passionate about. I can tell you engine specs off of a 5-liter motor or gun specs or like a variety of things that are hobbies for me that I'm very passionate about that I've rote memorization of those things is like it happens just because I want to be involved. Languages are hard because I'm not actually passionate about language. But I think that like you just have to like commit a portion of your time. Like people will find this amusing. I don't like working out, but I do it every day. You know what I mean? Like I do not like working out. I love when I get injured and I can like talk about how like, hey, I'm in recovery right now and I'm not doing anything. Like it's great. But
I'm
I do it every
laughing
day.
because it's so relatable.
Yeah, I don't. So I do it. And with language and a lot of other things that are important, just have to buckle down and do it and find more fun ways. When I was really trying to learn Arabic more, there were apps where there'd be a passage from a newspaper on one side in the native language and then an English transliteration on the other side. And then they would read them at the same time with the words highlighted, which would help me see how different letters in Arabic were scripted together internally and externally. And then honestly, I think Duolingo is a really good tool. I hate this because like modern learning methods don't stress repetition. They're like, oh, everybody has a different learning style. I think a majority of us need a sledgehammer. Just they need to sledgehammer it in and you have to do it. You have to memorize your multiplication tables. You have to memorize the parts of sentences. Like grammar is important. Nobody likes doing that stuff. But if you don't do it, then you fundamentally don't understand a variety of other implied tasks that you have to do as you get older. So like my parents forcing me to like go through the McGuffey reader and diagram 100 sentences before I could go to high school, like 100 sentences correctly, which means I did more like 250 sentences, like understanding the English language. Honestly, studying Latin, I did that all the way up into high school and learning the parts of language and the declensions and how to do things with language as a system. It helps, but it's not fun. Some people like it, good for them, but they're
Yeah.
few and far between. And I think a lot of the time, if it's something you have to do, like I have to do some spreadsheets and data input in my job right now, and I hate it, but I'll tell you, I get it done really fast because I don't want it hanging over my head. I like when it comes around.
That's actually a really good point. It's like just get it done because you don't want it hanging over your head. That's a great piece of it because it's going to sit there no matter what, right? It's just it has to get done. The quicker you just get to it, I like to do some of the things that I don't like early in the morning because then it just like gets it out of the way. I actually wanted to ask you something as you were talking. I wanted to talk in the beginning. You mentioned when we were talking about brand. I just thought this might be really applicable today. And as we were talking, the question kind of popped up. But what what do you think is a mistake that people make when it comes to personal brand or reputation? Um, you know, within themselves, their company.
Oh man, this is like the deepest, darkest rabbit hole because
I
it's
I came to me and I'm like, I have to ask someone who is this brand expert.
it's about character. And I
Yeah.
hate to say that because I think that good character actually strangles a brand a lot of the time. Like if you look around, some of the people with the least character in the world have the biggest brands because they're able to see what other people want to hear and parrot it. They leverage religion. They leverage core beliefs. They leverage divisiveness in society to build a brand that people want to hear, they want to associate with. A lot of soft guys are telling that they're pushing a narrative about themselves that's not true because they know it's what people want to hear. People want the hero story. They want all the big excitement. And it's like, look, man, like a lot of my deployments was like burning shit and watching movies in a plywood bee hut. Like it wasn't always some crazy adventure, you know, there's a lot of like grunts work. But I think that in the end, at the end of the
That's
day,
not entertaining, right?
no, and I people want the hero patriot aspect. They expect it. And it's not to say that it's not part of it. It's just not all of it. And I think that if you are, you need to think about what's true and you need to think about like what's true to yourself. You need to be authentic. Authenticity is like at its all-time rarest. People don't like what they see in the mirror, so they present what they think other people want to see. And I think that builds massive insecurity. People feel like their self-worth is a lie. Like even though they're successful at it, they look in the mirror and they're like, that's not who I am. One day somebody's going to figure it out. Like it's that whole imposter syndrome thing. So like, I think that like putting your faults on Front Street, being very self-effacing about what you can provide, just being yourself. Like I think a lot of people think that people won't like them if they're themselves. I mean, I know I'm a lot. And a lot of the time people are like, whoa, is that who you are? I'm like, it is. And it used to give me tension headaches to go places and pretend to be something I wasn't, trying to impress people with what I thought they wanted to hear. And I would always leave those places and be like, that was very stressful. And then wonder why I wasn't invited to be part of their organization. And when I started to be myself, even when people were like clutching pearls and being like, oh my God, Doug is a lot. And I'm like, I had a really great time. It was good to see you guys. Maybe I'll see you here next week. And then I get a call and they're like, hey, we'd love to have you back. And I'm like, that is shocking because I didn't think you guys liked me at all. You know, like I think being genuine matters, but I
But
also
what
think that
about like within a company itself? Like you mentioned in the very, very beginning when I asked this question, you mentioned about, being authentic and like I think you said like religion and your beliefs and all that stuff. Do you feel like because you were saying like people tend to throw that out there to set an image or to create disruption to get people to notice them, right? And things like that. Do you think that things can harm a brand and shouldn't be within a because obviously it can harm a brand. That's a given, right? Especially if you always have people that don't agree with you, right? And then they don't want to be a part of you. But do you feel like there are certain things that should be left out of a brand or shouldn't be
I
that
think
could harm you?
I don't think we ever need to discuss politics. I don't think that religion needs to be discussed at a corporate level at all. I think that a lot of that is personal brand. A lot of the influencer crowd, that I mean, they have a lot of access, a lot of entrees. So for them, you know, they're just spouting whatever's coming to their mind. But from a company standpoint, I mean, anything you do can harm you. I am not like a big like. I think we've kind of strayed as well because I think some of the most fun marketing that is out there, the most compelling marketing, is stuff that is sometimes viewed as disruptive.
Some dark humor.
Yeah, I don't know, like, and it's old stuff, but like, are you familiar? Do you know who Stan Freberg was? He was a big marketer from the '60s, and he was famous for like commercials like 9 out of 10 doctors prefer chow mein. Like it was it was a brand of chow mein, but then he has literally 9 doctors in lab coats, and 9 of them are Asian, and one of them is white. And you're like, that's pretty funny, like we go to the Spanish restaurant that has a lot of Latin people at the restaurant. Like if it feels genuine and people are eating their own food, I'm gonna go there. And I think we have gotten so far off the mark. Like people are attracted to a lot of the startup drop culture brands that are insouciant, that say things that other people feel like they can't, or the Wendy's marketing girl, talking trash on X to other accounts, and people are like, we like this. We're going to eat at Wendy's again instead of going to McDonald's. It's like there's some value to people being honest. I think that from a corporate level, exposing yourself to liability and potential legal action is a worry, but we leave that up to the C-suite to make direction on. In general, we try to be as edgy as possible without causing major problems.
It's hard today because it seems like everyone has a problem all the time. Do you find that there is a big difference within the military community to the civilian community when it comes to what's the best way to say this? Offensiveness?
I mean, I think that it's interesting. The Army's changed a lot in the 20 years I've been in it, but like, in the military currently maybe changing. There's a general, like, you can't swear at other soldiers and a lot of other stuff, which has changed a lot since I first came in. Like people want to be treated with decency and professionalism. And I think that there's probably a division in service members about what they view as professional behavior in that realm. I think that as a whole, the military prides themselves on having thicker skin than the civilian world. But I think that most of the time, the problem with people who take things as offense is, like, you can't give an offense. You can only take one, in the sense that, like, being offensive is definitely a thing, but it's because people are offended by you. It's why comedians get a free pass.
Oh my God. I thought of Ricky Gervais when he was like, you were offended. I found it funny. That's why I'm happier than you.
I think that comedians like are operating like kind of off the radar on a lot of that. And it's why they react so strongly when people get offended by things that they say in their comedy bits. I think that comedy has become more polarizing because comedians, it's an easier button to hit offensive things on subjects that people are easily offended by. People are very emotionally attached to their views on a lot of things. And I hate to say this, but most of the time, the things that they're emotionally attached to don't really have much bearing on their lives at all. They just decided that it was going to be something that they were going to take very personally. It's usually something in the past. And for me, I'm the biggest advocate for, I think I say this on almost every podcast, but like letting go of attachment. And just like being like, hey, like everything that happened in the past is in the past. Like we all make mistakes. We all make good choices. But like if we dwell on either of those, it's going to shape the future trajectory of our choices and actions. And that's not particularly, it doesn't inform the best decisions. And the things that happen in the future, if we're worried about what's going to happen next, like we're dwelling on the future and not making good decisions in the moment. I sometimes sit and think, I'm like, what could someone say that would offend me? There are things that people say sometimes that get me, like, I feel a thing.
Revved up.
But then I'm like, well, why do I feel this way? Like, what is it that makes me feel this way about this thing?
Well, that's self-awareness that most people don't have. They don't observe
themselves. It should be something that is developed, because like, overreacting to an offense is very rarely has a positive outcome one way or another. We've definitely become a culture where people feel that there are things that are so offensive that they demand some sort of like confrontation, like a deal. And I think it's funny because most of the time the things that demand that they deem as, requiring a confrontation they're not really personally relevant. There are things that they're everybody's Don Quixote now. Everybody has a windmill to tilt. Everybody is about a thing that is affecting a friend or someone else, but not really them. And it's like, I get it, but you'd be a lot happier if you just were like, hey, let's just treat everybody like human beings, understand that they're going through a lot, and have a little bit of grace, and then focus on doing the right thing yourself.
How does one take away the emotion out of something? Like, how does one emotionally detach to not get so offended? And then how does one build their resilience up for things like that? And because again, we're not in crisis or war zone, right? It's not being forced on us.
Those are easy.
That's the thing,
That's like easy stress. You don't control it, I think that the
Yeah.
problem is a couple things. I think one, people feel like they can control other people, but you can't, first of all, right? Like, so like the second you let go of being able to control another person, it's like, hey, I can't make anyone do anything short of holding a gun to their head. I can't really make someone do something else. I can only appeal to their sense of self-interest, or it's a persuasion practice, which is what marketing really is anyway. And then the other thing is, like, I think that we as a civilization are really bad at touching our emotions as to what they are. Like, anger's easy. It comes up. You're like, I am very angry. But then scraping past that and being like, anger isn't the only reaction I feel, especially men, where it's like anger is the thing that you fostered your whole life. Anger's easy. I detonate and I feel better. I've off-gassed and vented, and I might be a little embarrassed about being angry for no reason. But anger is something that guys especially are very like in touch with. But anger isn't the emotion. Like, the thing that you feel, there's a reason. There's some other trigger going on, and it's like, am I angry because I'm insecure, or because this feels like it's an attack on a marginalized population that can't defend themselves, or whatever? And I think that people, as they started to like tease out why they felt certain ways, would understand that like they have a lot more in common with the people that they're arguing with, because they're both coming from the same place. The hurt is the same. The emotions that they're feeling are very similar, and they're all just manifesting as anger and confrontation because it's easy. But I don't know how you winnow it out. Like, I think during SEER school, there's a little technique they teach you, and I've always been really bad at it, and it's called LTPR. You listen, you think, you pause, and then you respond. So like, anytime anybody asks you a question when you're like in a stressful environment where they're trying to get you to say something that you don't want to say, it's LTPR. You just kind of do a little tap. And I think like a lot of the time the metronome of LTPR is in my head when I'm like, I'm very angry right now. And then I'm like, well, why? Okay, now I don't feel so angry. And like, I'm going to like sit with this for a minute, and then I'm going to think of something. It's like, we all send angry emails at work, right? You just like, you don't send them, you type them. You write a response, and you're like, hey, like, I don't like your tone, whatever. You'll write the whole email and you'll read it, and you'll be like, copy and paste this into ChatGPT and ask it to make it more professional.
Make it nicer, yeah. Or like you saying, like, I know within my family, I will say like one of my brothers said something, and I'm like, June, like at one point I had to pick my brother up from work. He was mad about something, and in my mind, it was my fault. And in my mind, I knew he was going to get into the car and flip out. In my mind, I was like, Gina, just just say okay, like, don't react. I'm rehearsing it in my mind. The moment me and my mom are talking about it, the moment he gets in the car, he says one word, I lose it. And I'm like, we rehearsed this. What happened?
Sometimes you gotta like hold on to it. I mean, there's, the deal. You're in an argument with somebody and you see the text bubbles, like the little dots, and you're like, what are they gonna say? What are they gonna say?
Bubbling up. It's bubbling. You're ready to go at them again. You're ready to
I'm already formulating my response, and I don't even know what you're saying. I am.
Yeah. I do it within my family. I will say there's this is so funny. With other people, I've really, really learned to not be combative. I used to be, and I'm just not. And I remember being on a road trip, and it was me, my mom, and one of my best friends. And we got tacos, right? And we got 3 different tacos, and we got the same thing. And I try one, and she has one, and I'm like, how's the duck? And she was like, this isn't duck, this is pork. I'm like, it's duck. We're eating the same taco. I said, this is the duck, right? And she was like, no, it's not. It's pork. And I go, oh, okay, it's pork. So then I'm still eating. And then she comes to realize that it was actually duck. And she looks at me and she goes, why didn't you tell me? I said, I did tell you. And she was like, yeah, but you didn't try it. You didn't keep going. I go, I wasn't looking for you thought it was pork? You think that it's pork. Go for it. I don't need to convince you otherwise, right? But that's where I'm at in my life. If you want to think that the sky is purple, it's purple. I don't care, right?
I'm
Like
still
with my
invested in a little
family
bit of.
though, different ball game, different family, different ball game. I haven't gotten to that level yet, you know?
Oh, I'm still combative at times. But I mean, like, I try not to be angry while I'm combative. It's like
Yeah.
you usually say things that you regret. Whether you mean them or not is not the point. But you regret saying them. You're like, I
Well,
shouldn't have said.
also it's the people you're talking to. Some people like I now live in the South. Very, very different from New York where I grew up and very different from LA where I lived for the past 10 years, right? And yesterday the car broke down and the tow truck took it to the mechanic next door, not the proper one. And they call me and they were like the company that the tow truck actually sent the car to, and they were like, "Why is this car here? It shouldn't have been here. It needs to go next door." So I call the towing company and all I say is, "Hey, you guys put the car in the wrong towing. I mean at the wrong auto dealer. You need to go back and put the car in the proper spot." All I said, right? My auto mechanic calls me like, "Gina, we got your car. We heard about you yelling at them." And I'm like, "No one yelled at
This is my
anybody.
New York voice.
This is just my this is just the way I talk. Like I was like nasty, rude. Like there was and I also think that sometimes that's people sensitivity that I just don't, you know what I'm saying? Like
Oh
it's
yeah, that's
and
why
navigating the
I
different
love being
people, right?
East, because like everything's a fight. But none of it's personal. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, I think these days we take things too personal. Now, I can only assess for the time that I'm living in. I can't assess for when my parents grew up or anything like that. I can only assess for me. And I mean, like, I just feel like as an adult, I feel like we're so soft. Like everyone's taking everything so personally.
I also think that the stressors are more relevant at this point as well. Like, I think that, like, whether people want to admit it or not, like, we live in an easier culture, but the stressors that are on everyone constantly with our smartphones and a generally poor sleep habit, like crazy diets,
Yeah.
like, it's like, hey, nobody's at their best right now. And everybody's stressed about something, and people have very poor coping mechanisms in general. So like expecting there to be civil discourse in the middle of all that is probably ambitious.
I haven't heard that before, and I really like that a lot. I mean, it makes a lot of sense, and you're right with the poor. I mean, I just know for myself when I have my nephew with me, I always tell my brother like I need to sleep like 9 o'clock. This kid doesn't have a bedtime. I was like, at 9 o'clock, Gina's out. I don't care if he's sleeping or not. Like, I need to sleep because I'm at my best when I'm sleeping, right? I can't on little sleep. And from the military, you want to disrupt somebody or get them to crack sleep deprivation, right?
Oh yeah.
Sleep
Most
deprivation.
people are most people are sleep deprived all the time anyway. Like I mean, I getting a CPAP was the best thing that ever happened to me. Like 70% of the things that were problematic in my life went away the second I started sleeping 8 hours with enough oxygen. It was like I wake up and I feel good. Like
Yeah.
I had a sergeant major who was notorious. His nickname was Shitty Jimmy. He was such a mean dude. And everybody, when I went to work for him, everybody was like, Jimmy's going to hate you, dude. You just like brace for impact. Jimmy is going to destroy you. Jimmy and I became best friends. Like literally, I love that man. He's like one of my like favorite people on the planet. We work together really well. I said something to him like 6 months into our 13-month deployment. I was like, Jimmy, all these people told me that you were just a total jerk and that you were just like this mean, aggressive dude. He kind of like laughs. He's like an older guy. And he was like, well, see, like I got a CPAP machine about 2 months ago. And he was like, since I've been sleeping, I'm just way less angry. And I'm like, who knew, man? Like, I didn't have a CPAP back then. I was like, one day I'm going to get old. And like, I didn't know I needed one then. And I mean, when I had my sleep study and got a CPAP, and it's annoying at first. You're like, I don't like this thing. But when I realized that my blood was like, my SpO2 levels were like below 75% for like an hour plus a night, getting a CPAP machine and sleeping without snoring, which, I'm sure my dogs appreciate nuts, made a huge difference. And I'll tell people all the time when they're like, I can't lose weight or I don't, feel like I can do X, Y, or Z. I'm like, how's your sleep? First question every time. Are you sleeping 8 hours? Well, I don't need 8 hours. Yeah, I heard that. It's literally
Yeah, I heard that.
a rounding error of 0.1% of people that need less sleep biologically, and you're not the ones.
I've tested it for myself where I'm like, okay, where I go to bed at the same time and I wake up at the same time every single day. Now, sometimes I'm traveling and, whatever, but 9 out of 10 nights, same time, every single day, same thing. And the thing is, though, is that it works for me. And I always said, we actually had Randy Weitenheimer on the show and we talked about time and stuff. And he talked about how, because most people, and when he talks about the battlefield, it's just your day or your grind or whatever it is that you got going on. He said, we clock in, but we don't clock out, and you have to give yourself an end time, right? So I give myself an end time in terms of like 9 p.m. is my end time. And no matter what I'm doing, when that clock hits, it's like, shut it down, and do that unwinding to go to sleep. And it's really important. And we've talked about this on the show with a couple of people. They talked about their exit, that end of the day, or that exit of same thing like with work. It's, having those boundaries of, I told you in the beginning, it's Fridays are my grant writing days. It's like, I hate grant writing. It's not my favorite thing, but Friday it is. And I set a time and I go from this time to this time and that's it. And my brain knows it's going on. My body knows it. It's on the calendar and you do it, right? And then there's an exit point. So I can go, okay, now I'm going to treat myself to like something that's like way less torturous for me. But I think setting that and also the sleep and having that routine for yourself is crucial for.
People say they can't do it, and I'm like, I was one of them. And it's like, look,
Yeah.
I mean, I got plugged in with the guys from Headspace when they were brand new. I never was into meditation. I did some yoga stuff, and I viewed like body work as meditation just because it's like requiring a lot of focus. I was like, okay, that's as close as I get. And I started doing some of the Headspace stuff at night, like the sleep casts. To this day, like if I need to go to sleep, we're putting one of those on. And I do the breathing drill, and I will be asleep before we start talking about whatever the sleep test is. And I wake up and I'm like, I had no idea, but this was the thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Go to sleep and I didn't even know it.
Yeah, the sleep is it's everything. And I want to ask you, because I could feel like I could talk to you all day, but it is an hour show and I don't want to take up any more of your time. So
No,
my
but
question
don't stop. It's like on block for you.
What do you have for us that we could do on a daily basis to strengthen our mindset to tackle those everyday challenges that come our way?
I think just having some rituals, like structuring some rituals for yourself that are non-negotiable. I think a lot of us sacrifice ourselves. And this isn't some like crazy self-help thing where it's like focus on yourself entirely. Where like, the self-care disease of the 21st century. If you're constantly filling your stress cup up and you're not doing things that are good for you, like whether it's meditation or reading a physical book before bed or taking time in the morning to work out, like before the day starts, whatever it is, establish some rituals and see how far those start to ripple out in your life in terms of dealing with other stuff. Setting the tone on those is hard at first, but like 2 weeks in, it'll feel like something you've always done. And then other things will follow. You'll be like, oh, I feel much better. This is helpful for me. Now maybe I'll pull the string a little bit more and see exactly what, is next.
I love that. Thank you so much. And thank you, Doug, for being on the show.
Thank
You're
you for having me,
fantastic.
Gina. It was lovely.
Valuable stuff here. So I hope our listeners get whatever they need to get out of this, because there was so many great stuff. So again, thank you for being on the show. And for everyone that's listening, like, share, comment, subscribe, become a Substack member for all those extra goodies Substack members get. Thank you guys.